Alright, Chris Hodges back with you. Another little video on kind of how to evaluate properties as you're walking around potentially with the homeowner. What I do with every single property is I walk around it generally with the homeowner and then go over my sheet with them showing all the issues that they have. It always helps get a lot better number when you're trying to negotiate. So we'll get started real quick. It'll be a pretty quick video. So first thing off, I usually look at the roof because that's going to be a pretty expensive fix. So you can see some of these shingles, they're starting to pull up on the corners there. So that's usually something I always mention to them and just say, hey, look at this. This is going to need to be replaced fairly soon. So that's $5,000 to $6,000 right there. So that's a great negotiating point. So we'll come on up here and just some general things that I always look at. You're going to look at the windows. So these windows look to be original from the 70s. This house was built in 1978. So replacement windows, those are going to be, you can usually get them for about $200 each installed. I usually tell people that's about $300 a piece. So you count up the number of windows, there's another negotiating tool. Always look all the way around the foundation wherever you are, especially if it's brick. You're going to see, so these little holes here, these are normal. These are weep holes. So those actually let the moisture from behind the brick veneer over time actually come out, so you don't rot your walls from the inside out. So always make sure you see some weep holes along, and then always be looking for any kind of cracks in the foundation because those are expensive fixes. Generally, if you have a crack or two, that's going to need 1 to 3 piers, and piers run you about $1,000 a pier. So you're looking at usually minimum about $3,000 if you have a few cracks in the foundation. Those things always come up on the inspection report. So go ahead and negotiate that at the beginning so you're not having to pay that out at the end. Another thing here, this is loose. It's going to not be to code because it doesn't have 4-inch spacing. So there's another negotiating tool. You're going to need to rebuild this front railing here. So let's just keep on walking around and see what else we can find. So you got a little rot and problems up there on the corners. So always be looking at all the woodwork. Check around the foundation of the chimney. Make sure that there's not any issues with cracking, things like that. Got a few other little spots. Always point all this stuff out to the homeowner so they can see that their home is not in perfect condition. They always think their home is perfect, generally. So these are easy negotiating tactics as you're walking around the property. Look at your wells. These are full of some stuff. Nothing too bad. But by code, you're supposed to be 8 inches below the wood here. So over time, this has just been built up. This needs to be sloped away. So you're going to have some time and money into fixing that. A little bit of cracking. I usually poke on it just to make sure that there's not a lot of rot. So it looks solid, but we'll need, when we repaint this house, we're going to go ahead and caulk that and repaint it. Down here, some siding has gotten wet over time. So another negotiating tactic. Make sure you point that out. Other little, things not painted, broken. This is broken here. So just a number of things that I go around. It looks like there's been water in that light. So probably going to need to replace that. We'll keep on walking around here. Always keep your eyes open. Look for anything and everything. This deck here looks like it's in decent shape, but you're going to need power wash. Going to need to restain it. You can see some more rot up on the roof there. A few different problems. So lights, any kind of cosmetic stuff, it's hard to negotiate a lot on that. But I do like to point it out that these lights look original to the house, so I'm going to have to replace those. Those are $100 each, and I got to pay an electrician. So We'll just keep on walking around. We won't go into the crawl space on this video, but we'll do another one because a lot of stuff comes up in the crawl space. So there's some wood under here. It looks like there's a little bit of moisture. There's some water. You got some stuff hanging down. The inspectors love to nitpick you on the insulation hanging down. You can buy a pack of the little insulation hangers and put a lot of that stuff back up. That really helps on your cell to not have 30, 40, 50 things, and a lot of them are really small and insignificant, but a lot of times it'll scare a buyer away. So we'll keep on making our way around. So it looks like we have an older HVAC system. A lot of times I'll have my HVAC guy come and take a look, or I'll take a picture and send him the serial number that he can look up. And sometimes it's actually on the so this one actually says it was manufactured in 95, so it's 17 years old. So also another good negotiating tactic. Hey, this thing is on its last leg. They usually last 12 to 15 years. So you know, I'm gonna have to be replacing that really soon. So you know, I'm gonna need a reduction in the price. Looks like a few things that weren't painted, weren't finished. Some more little rot and different things up there. Some more rot below here. So just point all those things out just to make sure that you can negotiate the price good enough to where it makes sense. Especially if you're wholesaling, you got to make sure you have your wholesale fee in there. So. Got another crawl space. Like I said, we'll do another video, but this one looks pretty dry. Looks pretty decent. I always look at everything on the water heater. It doesn't have a vapor barrier down, at least right here, so you're going to need to do that. Those always come up on the inspection report as well, so go ahead. You know, you can do that yourself. Just go get some plastic from Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that. And usually for $100 to $200, you can fix that problem. So always look for, so right here, that's grounding out. So that's the ground on your electrical system coming out of your box. That's going to come up, so just make sure that that's done. Easy fix. All right. So this must be HVAC drain. It's way too close to the house. There is water coming out, but you know, that needs to be further away from the house. It looks like you got some crack in there, so you're going to need to extend that from underneath. It's really inexpensive, but it's a really easy fix if you're going to be fixing things. And it's going to come up on the inspection report. So make sure you take care and note little things like that as you're walking around. Also, it looks like all of the downspouts go into drain tile, which is always good. Inspectors love, you got to get the water away from your foundation, because if you don't, you're going to have foundation problems over time. So that's always good to see. And if it doesn't have that, make sure you put those and get it away from the house. Make sure it's draining correctly. Overall, this house is actually in pretty good shape. You know, obviously the color's pretty ugly, at least in my opinion. So, you know, we would paint the outside. You know, usually about $1 a square foot gets you be able to paint the outside. So this is 2,000 square feet. So a couple $1,000 you could get this painted, and it's just going to really bring a lot of value and just going to look a lot better. And so yeah, I hope this video helps you. I do have a wholesale calculator that you can plug in the square footage, that it'll calculate a lot of these prices automatically right on your iPhone. I am working on the Android version as well. When I get those up, they'll be linked down below in the description. Also, it'll be linked at the end of the video. And I have a more robust Excel spreadsheet that I use each and every day with my own projects as I'm working through those. And that can also be downloaded below, and I'll have a link to that as well. And I'll also have little videos that'll show you kind of how to use each of those products, and I hope this was helpful.